Good morning. Welcome back. This is going to be the second game of that series. I didn't actually explain what the series was. Haver of Fun and I are part of the ANZ Netrunner server, and they do like a weekly, like standard Swiss thing. It's not particularly serious, but it's, you know, it's somewhat. People still try, right? You try and win, but it's not like people are giving their heart and soul out for their games. And this is our week's matchup. This is the Corp deck I brought. Now, you'll notice that I think if you know anything about this game, this seems like a little silly. But in LOR, I played basically all aggro, mid-range, and tempo decks. I never really played a lot of combo. I played like 1 or 2 combo decks, but not a particularly high amount. So I was curious to try some form of combo or whatever like equivalent could exist in Netrunner. So this is Kakarembo combo. I'll first go over the combo and then I'll talk about the way everything else sort of goes into it. So this is the step as listed by this individual whom I have taken the deck from. So the first step is to call a judge to make sure that you're not cheating. And the second step is to res Plutus. So the idea is that Plutus is this guy. When I find it. Plutus is an interesting card that says when you res this card, you lose 3 cards from your hand or you forfeit an agenda, but at the start of each turn, you may play a transaction operation from archives for free, like clicklessly, and it removes it from the game. So this means like if you've played your hedge fund, you just get a free hedge fund because you've resed a Plutus. So it's expensive because it costs 3 cards, which is like, like 3 clicks, not really, but like 3 clicks. But it gives you a lot of potential value, right? Now, the operations we have are fine. We have some transaction operations. Like Hansei Review is just going to give you money, and that's kind of fine. But importantly, you've got Petty Cash and Red Level Clearance. And both of these, while they say something on them, right, they give you a little bit of money, the short answer is that they say clicks, right? They give you a click. So if you've got a Plutus and you've played a Petty Cash from your archives, you have 4 clicks that turn. Same with Red Level Clearance. You've got 4 clicks that turn. With 4 clicks, you can do something really funny. If you have a Plutus on the field, and you have a Kakarembo, a Regenesis, and a Fuji Asset Retrieval in hand, you can do a funny combo. Kakarembo says for 3 clicks, trash any number of cards from HQ. You won't be doing that, so ignore that text. All the cards that are in HQ, you put them face down. Oh, the cards in archives, sorry, you put them face down, and then you may install one of those cards from archives in another server and put 2 advancement counters on it. So if you res Plutus end of the opponent's turn, you can trash a Regenesis and a Fuji Asset Retrieval, then play Kakarembo and put that Regenesis that you put in archives from Plutus into a server, can be any server. Regenesis will be placed down into a server with 2 advancement counters with 1 click left. You have your final click, you score it. Your Regenesis lets you score an agenda from your archives. So you score your Fuji, or you don't score it, you move it into the scored area, and you get 4 points. You get your 1 point from Regenesis, 3 points from Fuji. You'll notice that Regenesis has this text if you've not added any cards to archives this turn, but Plutus did it at the end of the opponent's turn, not on your turn. And as long as you don't use that text on Kakarembo that says trash any cards from HQ, you'll be good, because this doesn't go to archives either. This goes to operation. So that's like the joke. That's like the combo. I've done it twice. It's fine. I've only played this deck like 3 times. And it's fine, but that's not the only way to play this deck. It is just like a standard Jinteki deck. So Restoring Humanity gives you a credit if there's a card face down in your archives. I think more importantly, it just doesn't have many cards in the deck. You can have only 40 cards as opposed to the standard 45. And so you've got Cohort, which is like a really good econ engine. You trash a card to gain money, or you put advancement counters on things. But basically you trash a card to gain money at the start of every turn. You've got some money over here, and you've got your 3 spin doctors because you've played the video game before, and a bunch of ice. Now the ice is interesting to me because I'm not very good at building decks in Netrunner, and I'm not in my microphone's in the screen, I just realized. And I'm not particularly good at knowing what ice to include, but you've got 3 tattoo bowlers and 2 Botos of the Water Tribe, which allow you to end the run, which is nice. You've got Vampire Renasa, which is it's 7, but what's good about this is that like if they face check it, it's still pretty good for you, right? You get a ton of value from it. And most code gate breakers also still need to spend a little bit of money into this, like about 4, which is nice. You've got an enemy and a Seisenton, which do a ton of damage, so like you can play for the damaging thing, especially if you've done your combo once and you're at 4. They're gonna have to start running servers to try and find things, like hopefully find your longevity serum or your sericulture expansion, and then they're gonna take damage and it's gonna hurt. As I pointed out, the Seisenton and an enemy. Cloud Eater mostly is just like funny. I don't know if it's in here for any like particular reason other than like, cool, it's got some net damage, lets you trash some cards. It might be there because of Konjin. Now, Konjin is a card I had never heard of before. This is the first time I've ever seen Konjin. Same with Kakarenbo, to be fair. And Konjin says, play a Psy game, and if the bids differ in the Psy game, you basically meet another piece of ice. So like Cloud Eater, the biggest ice is simply the best choice for Konjin to copy, right? Because it's going to take the most money to break. But like a Seisentan or a Boto of the Water Tribe, which has 6 strength because of threat 4, because you've done your little combo, or a Vampire Asa, is a really nice thing to Konjin. I really do like Konjin as a piece of ice. Sometimes it doesn't do anything, which is funny. Like, okay, the ice doesn't do anything, that kind of sucks. But on occasion, it basically is a 3 strength ice that says not 3 strength, 3 credit ice that says do something that a 5 or 6 credit ice or 10 credit ice does, and that feels great. That feels like you're just getting a ton of value. And so I think like it's pretty cool to have like a Konjin, like your thing, your asset, then a Boto of the Water Tribe, then a Konjin, and then like you're redoing the Boto of the Water Tribe twice. Whatever thing their icebreakers are currently struggling to deal with. I think that's really cool. There's not many other cards in the deck. These are essentially 3/2s. You don't have to worry too much about them. This technically does something more than a 3/2. It lets you shuffle cards from archives into R&D and shuffle cards from HQ into archives. You just trash them, but that's what it means. This lets you, if you over advance it, like get some stuff, but I think this is here literally just as a 3/2 and nothing else, right? Like this is just a 3/2. You've got Gaslight, which is a card I hadn't seen before, despite being a big fan of doing so. It says when your turn begins, you may trash this asset. If you do, search R&D for an operation and reveal it. You'll notice that there's only 2 Kakarenbos. My assumption with this is that you are simply to find your Kakarenbo, right? You don't want to be running 3 Kakarenbos because this card is terrible outside of the combo. But you can... There you go. I mean, I assume it's terrible. I've never tried playing it outside of the combo, but I don't think it's very good. You've got Makoto Langit Grid. I don't really know why this is in the deck. Someone might be able to know why, but it basically says, you know, you can put it in a server and ice is cheaper and assets are cheaper, but you don't have that many assets. Like, you've got 1 asset that costs money and it's cohort. So I don't know really why it's in here. It makes your ice cheaper and like it costs a lot to break. And it makes assets cost more to break, so you can put it with your cohort, and then, I don't know, it costs more to trash the cohort, it costs more to trash the Plutus. But I think if I was making this deck, I would probably change this card for something else. I'm just not entirely sure what. Adrian is an interesting card. It's another side game card, but if the bids differ, you can only access Adrian, so it will protect your Plutus, and if the bids are the same, then you'll access... the other card like Plutus, but you won't be able to access Adrian, so that'll stay. It's a cool card that lets you protect some servers, specifically with the Plutus. It's an interesting deck where, unlike your Alcos and your other decks, it's not like doing the cohort fart moonpool thing with your agendas in like a strong way, and like the agendas aren't stings, they're not dealing damage. But it does a really funny potential thing that is kind of hard for the enemy gamer to interact with. They have to be like really adamant about getting rid of your Plutus, and if you just have like 2 ice in front of a server, most of the time there's going to be 1 or 2 turns where they just don't go into the server because it's too much of a tax to go into the server every single time you put an asset into it. So eventually you'll put an asset into it that's Plutus and they won't run it because they just don't have the resources to do it on that turn, and that's the turn you get to do the combo. They could also pressure your hand, and that your hand is really difficult because you have to have 2 cards in your hand, or like have these already put down with your Plutus. Like, you know, you can not have a Plutus and just have both of these in your R&D. No, you still need Plutus for the for the extra click, so ignore that. You do need the Plutus for the combo entirely. But then, you know, you can still do Regenesis Fuji stuff if you just like install the Regenesis and have a Fuji in your discard pile. But that's the deck. It's not any more complicated than that. Let's let's go into the game. Boom. Okay, so enemy gamer, have her fun, is playing Magdalene. Now, I fought a couple of Magdalenes, and they're not too hard to fight. But the thing with Magdalene is that they're always going to be at 5 cards, right? Because at the end of the turn, the ideal Magdalene player has like 6 or 7 cards in hand, so that their effect, where they get to discard down, and if they discard down, they get to install a program, gets to activate consistently. This means they're always going to be at max cards, which means you're very rarely dealing lethal. Like you're very rarely killing them, which is nice because out of all the Jinteki decks I've played, this isn't like a kill deck. But it is interesting to note. Looking at this hand, we've got Plutus plus 2 ways of getting clicks. Now, you only really need 1 way to gain clicks, but starting with Plutus and 2 ice is pretty good, right? There's no agendas in this hand, so I'm pretty satisfied to see no agendas. And while we don't have your hedge fund or something in the deck, that means petty cash is like a decent way to get some amount of credits. So I'm happy with this hand. This hand is like basically what I want. I'm not agenda flooded, so I'm not going to struggle really early. I've got a Plutus that if they don't interact with means that if I just draw the combo circumstantially, I'll be really nice. And like a tattoo and another ice can get you to do a funny money engine thing. Okay, let's just watch. The squeaky voice is always funny to me. So we drew a Boto of the Water Tribe. This is really nice because it means I can go ice. Sorry, let me change that. I can go ice, asset. And if they run the one with Tattoo Bowler, whichever one I decide to put Tattoo Bowler in, I can always put Boto of the Water Tribe in the other thing. I expect that if I'm going to put Plutus here, I want Boto of the Water Tribe in front of it because I'm probably only going to have 1 like main server the whole game. I don't really need more than 1 main server, right? Either I'm putting ice here, either I'm putting my Plutus here or I'm scoring my agenda straight up. I'm never really doing either game plan or trying to set up either game plan. I might if my hand tells me to, but I don't. That's not my general game plan. So having like a Boto of the Water Tribe is like a really good ice to ask them to be consistently taxed with, right? It ends the run, so I can always end the run at will, and it costs them a lot to break Boto of the Water Tribe, especially if I upgrade the threat value. So I think this is like a perfect early turn. If you can like justify to yourself like a double ice asset, I think that's like a good turn. I think like most of the time I've seen people do that turn, they've been pretty happy with it. So that's what I start with. No, it's not. I just fucking lied to you. I did petty cash first. I think that's fine. I don't have any agendas here, so it's not a big deal. So I put tattoo here in case they run it. So you know, I just said like something for like a minute and a half. Yeah, completely ignore that. Did I make the right play? I don't know. I think there's a decent argument to put tattoo here, thingo here, and thingo here, or even possibly put tattoo in R&D. I think setting up the petty cash is interesting because if I do draw the Kakarembo combo, I do need petty cash in here at some point, but that can happen like 3 or 4 turns down the line. I don't need that now. So you know what? I think I already disagree with this turn. I think I saw petty cash and Plutus and was like, oh my god, that's like 2/5 of what I need to do. All I need is 3 more cards. But having 2/5 of the combo is not like what you need, right? So I should have done something else. I do think that it was probably better to ice Plutus. You might be asking why I'm doing Plutus here. There's not that many other assets other than Cohort that I want, and if I get Cohort, I can just put Cohort here. I'm not too worried about that. Or, you know, I get rid of this and I put Cohort away. I put Plutus away. But I think that, like, I'd rather have Plutus around and rather than easily trashable. And, like, I have nothing in hand they can trash, so I'm not worried about HQ at the moment. Except for the Plutus there. So I think I wish I had done Ice Plutus or Ice Plutus with protecting HQ, just because at some point you want HQ protected, and like they'll want to run it just to see at some point. But this isn't a terrible turn. I'll be doing petty cash at some point, but I do think I regret this turn. I think I could have done it differently. Enemy gamer, what did they do? They did Nuka, telework contract, click telework contract, and symbol chip. They got the symbol chip actually through discarding a card. So it was Nuka, draw, telework, click it, and symbol chip, SMC. Sorry, not symbol chip, self-modifying code. Decent setup turn, right? If you remember the lat game I did against them, I did something very similar in my first turn where I did a Nuka play. This is just a common start. It's worth noting that, like, if you don't know what self-modifying code does, it lets you scry or look in your deck for any program you want. It costs 2 memory chips. But it means that you can do like a run here, and then I res this, and you learn that it's a barrier. So you just find your propeller, and then you get to break it, and that's like super strong and kind of annoying. But you know, it costs a little bit for them. I think like it costs some money or something to do it, and you know, takes a lot of space. But it's just how their deck works. You'll notice this petty cash will be here, which is my capacity to be able to exhume it from archives in order to get the money. I don't do that for a while because I don't need the money for a lot of the game. And I want to be able to set up the Plutus combo at will. Now, you'll notice I have red level clearance, so if I just put red level clearance in here, I can do the Plutus combo whenever I want anyway. It's not like they can interact with this. So maybe I should do this earlier. But you'll notice that I also drew Hansai Review. And Hansai Review means that I have a ton of money. And so I'm not worried about money at the moment. So I don't decide to invoke the petty cash law yet, just in case, I don't know, I want to do the Plutus thing via invoking the petty cash as opposed to invoking red level clearance, because red level clearance has other text besides just getting the click. Okay, so what do I do this time? I'm curious. Oh. Okay. So I do the red level clearance to get some card draw. I want to see cards in my hand. Like, I've got the Plutus and I've got the ways to get clicks. So in my mind, my thinking is before they can interact with me, let's try and just do the combo. Like before they have a reasonable way to interact with me. So in the pursuit of these goals, I do my red level clearance. I take money and card draw. I don't need the clicks on this turn. And now that it's in here, I could petty cash whenever I want. I don't realize that I can petty cash whenever I want for like a long, long time. And that's a misplay. As soon as I decide that I'm putting red level clearance here, I should just immediately petty cash. Because I'm never doing the Kakarembo combo twice. I could, but you should not expect that to happen, especially once you've revealed that this is a Plutus. Like you have to reveal another Plutus to trash things again. You just shouldn't bother about it. At least this early on in the game. So I should have used the petty cash. There's no reason not to. I'm sort of throwing. Then I installed a Spin Doctor here, and I installed a Boto of the Water Tribe here. Now, I think I installed Boto of the Water Tribe here because I didn't want them to run R&D, obviously. And I didn't really know where else to put it, and I didn't know what else to do with the rest of my turn. I find a lot with co-op that I don't know what to do for my last click. I don't know where to put ice I've got in hand. I don't know whether to just click for a credit and pass. I don't know whether I should draw, because obviously drawing runs the risk of getting an agenda that you don't know. So I find that to be like a common issue that I have when playing the game. But I had 3 pieces of ice. I've got the Boto, sorry, now 4 because the Vampire Ranasa. I've got Tattoo Bowler here, I've got Boto here, I've got Boto here, and Vampire Ranasa. And I don't really know the best places to put them. I know at some point I'm going to want a ton of ice here. I know at some point I'm going to want to protect Archives and HQ just so that they can't run these for free and they need to put some effort in, especially Archives, because at some point there will be face down cards in Archives, and getting like a second Regenesis combo is like not insignificant. So I know I'm going to be icing a lot, but I don't know like the best order or when, or I should ice like an unknown remote. And then this is a Spin Doctor. I just know that I want to draw cards. Like if I can get the Kakarembo combo, I'd love to. So I just wanted to draw cards and like see more of my deck. Now, considering I've got a surprisingly good start, all I need to do is see more stuff, like a Cohort or something perhaps. They do Nuka to draw some cards. They do Spin Doctor. That's just like the wrong name. They do Short Gamble. And then they do Hannah and run this server. Now, this is a mistake that I make. I forget the text on Hannah, and I just completely think that I'm doing something cool when I'm not. There are cards in the game that say, like, if run is successful, so if there's a success, do a thing, right? And so I know that if you res Spin Doctor and then trash it, it's not successful. Now, I forget that Hannah's text isn't that if it's successful, remove the, like, if it's successful, you don't get a tag. It's if it's not unsuccessful. And if I do the whole Spin Doctor trash thing, it's still not an unsuccessful run. It was neither successful nor unsuccessful, but it's not an unsuccessful run. So Hannah has the whole, you run a remote server, you gain your click back, and if it's not unsuccessful, which I nearly just syncopated as if it's successful because it's so intuitive as a human or as an English speaker, I suppose, not necessarily a human, that's a crazy statement. As an English speaker to try and syncopate that statement of if it's not unsuccessful to if it's successful, but if it's not unsuccessful, you gain a tag, and I'm like, okay, I can use my Spin Doctor to draw 2 cards, which is already what I want to do. I don't think I'm going to want to shuffle anything this early on in the game. I'm not too worried about that. So what I can do is I can basically, in my head, what I'm thinking is I can waste the remove from game ability in order to give them a tag. That's just not how Hannah works, and I've got to remember that different bit of text. But you'll notice that that's what happens, and I even have a dialogue with my enemy gamer about that in the chat menu. But yeah, that's what's going to happen in a second. You're going to hear me. You're not going to hear me yet because I'm not doing it. I'm going to res remove, and then I'm going to be like, what the hell? Where's the tag? And then my enemy gamer nicely explains that that's how that works. And yep. Okay, then you saw on Azamat. Important. Azamat is a card that has seen a lot of play recently. It's 2 memory chips, 1 credit, and it basically says you get 2 credits every turn for trashing things. There's a card that used to be like that was very similar, but this one I think costs an extra memory chip and 1 less credit. This is a very strong card, and it means that I can't really put like cohort in my remote servers. And this has been a very popular card for beating asset spam, because you just put a ton of things here and this saves you like 2 credits every turn. But it means that like if I wanted to get a cohort, I'd be putting it in here, or I'd be icing up another server so that they have to at least get taxed somewhat, as opposed to like actually just hurting me. We drew 3 cards recently. We drew another Tattoo Bowler, and we drew an Anemone, and we drew another Hansei Review, which means we can get a ton of money. I'm looking at this hand and thinking, I can't pressure a lot. I can't do a lot. All I can do is set up further. I can put an ice here, I can put an ice here, I can put an ice here, but what am I doing with this? Fuck all. I can get a ton of money with these things, but what do I want to trash? Because I like the ice. I want to be protected. I don't really want to trash anything in my hand. So I'm not entirely certain what I want to do here. My thinking is that in the medium to long term, I do have to beat the enemy gamer, right? To win the game, you do have to win the game. And shapers, particularly shapers that are already built around programs, are going to have a good late game because they will be able to break through a iced glacier for 6 or 7 credits, and you will never be able to beat that at a certain point, right? Unless you like find a situation where they're actually at 0 credits circumstantially. And so it means that I want to do things in like the medium term before they have set up before they've set up all their icebreakers. Right now they only have 1 icebreaker. Now it's an icebreaker that can be any icebreaker of the 3. But it could be any icebreaker. So what I'm thinking is I want to either make a server that is really hard for their 1 icebreaker to break through reliably, like, I don't know, 2 Bodos of the Water Tribe and they only have 1 barrier breaker, or you have 2 different pieces of ice, so at least they're always getting hit by 1 and they're not feeling satisfied. It's more realistic, I think, to actually have 2 barriers because they're going to find another Simul chip or SMC or whatever to be able to continue going through. So in my mind, it is better for me. I still want to... Where am I going with this? I think the point is that I do want to set up my glacier soon-ish, and I want to keep my ice and just hope that I'm going to draw into something at some point. It is strange to me that, like, there is very little draw in the corp, at least in this deck that I'm playing. It's really only the Spin Doctor, the cohort, and the the natural draw every turn, and the click for draw action. But I still, like, I have the capacity to ice things now. I should do that while I can. And so when I've drawn stuff, I have that security without having to, like, build that security in response to me drawing good things. What does that mean? What do I decide to do? I don't remember, so let's see. This is a Tattoo Bowler, correct? Yes, I put a Tattoo Bowler here. I play a Hansei Review to put an Anemone in here. You'll remember that I said that I'm rarely ever going to kill them. An enemy is actually like a terrible ice for taxing, right? Because an enemy costs 3 for me to res and only has 1 subroutine and like 1 strength, right? Which means that for basically every icebreaker, it's going to cost $1 redo to break. Cool. It has a summon effect that lets me deal 2 damage, but if they're going to be at 5 cards at all times, the only benefit for that is if I manage to hit a really strong card. I'm never going to do a lethal line. I'm never really going to threaten them too much, while things like Boto and Tattoo Bowler are doing something above and beyond for econ that I respect. This isn't to say an enemy's a useless card. Dealing 2 damage, getting rid of the things, making them spend a buck is cool to do, but if I have got like extra ice, I'm willing to forego an enemy as a piece of ice, at least for now. Maybe later I would have wanted it and I can use a Spin Doctor to get it back for lethal lines if they're at 0 cards in their deck, but that's well into the future when I've drawn a Spin Doctor or something. So I decided to trust the enemy, so I've got a ton of money. And then I think I put the Vampironasa in archives because, as I mentioned before, I want to protect archives. And I think there's something super cute about putting something in archives and then immediately icing it. I think my hope is that an enemy gamer like Haver Fun is like, ooh, what's in there? Is it a Fuji? You know, why are you protecting your archives? What's so important about your archives? Now, obviously, this identity gives you 1 credit at the end of your turn if there's a card face down in archives. That means that enemy gamers also like try and run this because they can just run this, and what this run says is -1 credit from the opponent, which is almost, not really at all, but it's like almost -1 click because it costs 1 click to get a credit. That's like literally not correct, but it's a way to sort of pretend to abstract it. And so they might want to run this for free. And so by putting a single piece of ice there, like a Vampironasa, which Vampironasa isn't an ice that ends the game, ends the run. If it ended the game, that would be diabolical. I don't think they should release that. It doesn't say end the run, but it does still have a lot of annoying text. And I think like a non-end the run ice is perfect for archives because it's not like you need to protect it all the time, but it also means they don't want to run it. And if they do run it, you get a ton of benefits anyway. Even if their benefit is just they're spending 6 credits because they've got a thing that breaks it, but still. So that's what I decided to do. Now we've got a Vampironasa, a Boto, and 2 Tattoo Bowlers. They do Hana again. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I've got my Boto in hand. I wanted a Boto in the server, as I was mentioning earlier, and I get $4 for raising the Tattoo Bowler. Easy peasy decision. There's no reason for me not to do that. In addition, I get to force them to make this play. Now, they're going to want to do it anyway, but like, you know, in common LOR speaks, you sort of force them to have it. You force them to do something and just like, you're not forcing them to have it, they have it. But you're forcing them to like make a play and like commit to something so that in future they don't have that flexibility, even though they still get to do something strong. Okay, so they get their propeller, they go through, they trash the Plutus. Congratulations to the enemy gamer. Then they install a Nuka and click a Nuka. So that was, let me see what they did. Yeah, click 1 was run. No, click 1 was Hana. What was the first click? Whoa, that was not the first click. I don't know what happened there. The first click they did was telework. Okay, so yeah, first click was telework. There's a fake click here of running. Second click was Nuka. Third click was Nuka, like clicking Nuka. One was installing, second was doing. And fourth click was Fermenter. Decent turn for them, right? For them, they're doing like an ideal setup. From their position, they have gotten an Azima, which has helped them trash something. They have gotten Hana, which has given them already 2 free clicks. They have gotten a Propeller to break into a Plutus, which like I'm running Plutus, so like I must want it, right? And their Azimuth is also helping them pay for that money. They've got a ton of cards in hand, so they kept being able to do this. They have had like the ideal hand. Circumstantially, I think I've had a decent thing, but I haven't been able to do anything with it, with the exception that if I put another ice here or another ice here and I'm able to score an agenda, that's like the way I'm hoping to do something. Okay, let's continue. Oh, they do Fermenter and then Sim will chip out with their identity. We draw our Konjin. So like in my mind, also I've written T there, but now this is actually a Boto. So that's Boto, that's Tattoo Bowler, that's Boto, and that's Vampironasa. Again, you keep seeing this petty cache. I should just be clicking it already. If I wanted to do a Plutus thing, I could whenever I wanted to. There's no reason for me not to be clicking the petty cache button. Unless they were running like one of the cards that punishes you for having money, but they're not. I know I wanted a Konjin here at some point, so that'll happen at some point. But I don't really know what else to do with this hand. I'm almost certain I click to draw. I do click to draw. And it may be silly. I just drew a petty cache. It was sort of funny to me because it looked like nothing had changed and I thought I nearly broke it. But I just drew another petty cache. So that's kind of whatever. I draw again because there's nothing here I want to do. And I finally draw my first agenda. So now for once, I'm starting to be worried about people running HQ. By people, I particularly mean my opponent. I don't really care if anyone else runs HQ. But again, it's not like I've got much going on here. I don't have some sort of scoring thing. I don't have like a Plutus Kakarembo to go for. I don't have a Fuji. But I think I've just put Konjin here. I think. Because I think I know I wanted to do that at some point. Or maybe I put a Tattoo Bowler. Whoa, why did I do that? Ah, I figured it out. I don't really care about playing petty cache. It's like, it's a click for $2. That doesn't matter to me. I could spend a click for $5 and put the petty cash where I want it, which would then make it no click for $2. So I decided to just do that. Is that the right play or the right time to do it? I'm not certain. I think you can argue to me that I'm supposed to put Conjin here for this action. But the other argument is that like Conjin only lets them interact with a res piece of ice. So I'm putting Conjin here, they're running it, I'm not resing it. This is just a waste of like a credit, and I can do that at some other point. Well, at least at this way, I'm getting 5 credits so that if I do draw my cohort or like a ton of draw cards, then I can deal with my money and use it functionally. But I'm not doing anything. I'm just sort of sitting around doing nothing, which is kind of sad because I want to be doing things. I want to be winning the video game. Okay, first they nuka. Then they install another nuka and 2 stone chips. They have gotten a lot of value. Congratulations to the enemy opponent. That's a tautology. The enemy gamer. Now they didn't get to do a funny thing here. They could have. I think I gave them the time to pop a stone chip if they wanted to see if they could do the thing, but they don't. Okay, now we've got 2 petty caches that we can invoke at any time. We drew a Saisentan, which is cool. Like, great. Now we can put another Saisentan protecting a server. That's great. I still don't get to do anything. What do I do this turn? I'm curious. I drew a card. Still, I should be doing my petty caches. Like, this is still a misplay every time I'm not doing it. But I finally draw my cohort. So I'm like, cool. Okay, I can start drawing cards. I can start doing things. This is great. So in my mind, I'm going to put cohort here. The question then becomes, the cohort's text is trash a card, put it in HQ, to draw a new card and to gain 2 credits. Importantly, I have to lose a card. Which card would I want to lose out of all of these? In my mind, the best option is Tattoo Bowler. Tattoo Bowler doesn't cost them very much, right? Tattoo Bowler just costs them 1 credit to break through. It'd be very hard for it not to cost them 1 credit. Technically, right now, it costs them a propeller usage, but I'm assuming they are on non-propeller ways of breaking through ice. And if they're not, they can always find more propellers. With their Simul chip, they can always Simul chip out a new propeller, or they have self-modifying code in the deck. They can also do that, like Simul chip into a self-modifying code and then find whatever Rising Tide or Principia or whatever. So in my mind, like, if I'm trying to eventually have a server that can house either a Plutus or a cohort or my agendas, I will need that to be something better than a Tattoo Bowler. Now, obviously, the argument goes that like Tattoo Bowler, they run it, then you get to replace it with something better and you get a profit for it, but it makes one run worse. But I'm not in a position where I'm worried about money because I've got $22. So I'm thinking that I should put a cohort here, protect it with like a Saisentan, and then when I get to my next turn and I get to res my cohort, Tattoo Bowler goes in the bin, I get to draw a card, and I finally get to like start cycling even harder. The issue is that like this is way too much thought for me, and I'm like new to the game, so I don't like think about it properly. What I end up doing is cohort and Tattoo Bowler. Now you might ask, Spider, you literally just said you wanted to trash Tattoo Bowler, but in my mind I was like, hold on, I'm going to do the greatest play of all time. They're going to run this server. I'm going to res Tattoo Bowler. This is going to go down to 2. Then they're going to go into Boto, and then they're not going to be able to do anything. And then I just forgot about all of this stuff. And then, you know, they would still interact with this. But then I have a Tattoo Bowler in hand. Congratulations to me. In my mind, like, I don't know. I wasn't thinking properly. But I think that's like the right way I should have thought. I should have thought that I'm putting a Tattoo Bowler back in here. Let's put the Saisentan over here, or Saisentan over here because I want the Saisentan over there. Or like the Conjin, because I know I want the Conjin in this server at some point. Unfortunately, I put the Tattoo Bowler there, which was a little silly of me. That being said, I'm thinking a lot about something that doesn't matter that much. You can also argue, put the Saisentan in here because I'm not dealing that damage. In my mind, Saisentan costs them like 3 credits once they get their breaker, or like, you know, it could cost 5 credits, or dealing 3 damage is okay. It's not a lethal thing, just like a tempo thing. Not a tempo, like a pressure thing. Tempo's the wrong word there. But you know, whether I'm trashing Tattoo Bowler or Saisentan, I know I'm trashing a piece of ice, because I know I want this Conjin, and I know I want Regenesis. I don't think I'm putting Regenesis in Archives just yet. I think it's too risky. For me, I'd rather have the Tattoo Bowler protect than the Vampire Renasa. I think like for runners, it's hard to justify running HQ unless you think there's multiple agendas, because if there's just one agenda, it's a 1 in 3 chance of seeing something, and you don't even know this one exists yet. If they have a read that this one exists, or you have a read that like this 2 exists and it's like a good read, then you run HQ. But if you don't have that read, then like there's not that much reason to. And I haven't given them a reason to read that yet. I don't think. I hope not. Maybe I have and I just don't know it. Okay. But this is a Tattoo Bowler. Okay, then they play pinhole threading and it ruins everything. So obviously they can break the tattoo bowler, they go over here, they get the cohort. I replaced that tattoo bowler with a Seisentan, I think. This was a Boto, this was a Vampy Ranasa, this is a tattoo bowler, and this is now a Seisentan. Alright, what else did they do for their turn? So click 1 was their diagonal, click 2 was a stone ship. They used a stone ship this turn. But click 2 was a stone ship. Click 3 was coalescence. Click 4. The hell did they do this turn? Sorry. Yeah, click 1 is the no, oh my god, they did a lot more actually. Click 1 was a spec work on Azimuth. That was click 1. Click 2 was the pinhole threading. Click 3 is the stone ship. And click 4 is... I'm not entirely sure I know what click 4 was. Oh, they just gained a credit because they know they're going to overinstall into the thing. So it's basically the same thing as playing the coalescence. They just gained to get extra credit for it. Was that a good turn for them? Yeah, I think so. I think they got rid of like one of my key cards that I was using for important stuff, and they did it cheaply, and they still got to like draw and do stuff. Good job to them. Okay, I drew another tattoo bowler. I'm annoyed at these tattoo bowlers at this point. I've got enough money, and I just want to like draw my things that will annoy them when they get taxed consistently. So I draw a card, I finally get my Fuji. So all I need now is a Plutus and a Kakarembo, and I have the combo. But obviously now that I've got 2 agendas, I start getting worried about them running through this, right? I haven't scored any agendas. They know there's no, right? I either have agendas here, agendas in the down, or I've got agendas in here. I have to have agendas somewhere. So if I haven't played them in here and they haven't been found here yet, and they're not in here, like they're not the 6 cards in there, and if they run it, it's not the 2 more cards, there's probably some in HQ at this point. So they probably can realistically assume there's some. Maybe that's the tell that I was talking about earlier, that I just haven't, we haven't seen any agendas yet. So they should run HQ possibly, but possibly not. What do? I draw another card. Boom, agenda. Now I'm not certain what to do. In my mind, this is a somewhat annoying server. They've got $4. While they can get 6 and 2, there's actually more like 8 for their turn. And run through this. If I start like actually just using this as a tax, right? Like let's say it's got 3 pieces of ice. I put my conch in here. I put some other new ice here, maybe my other tattoo bowlers. Eventually that's going to cost them like 6, 7, 8 to break through. And if I just do that enough, I'll win. Not really, but like I'll win in as much as I'll have squeezed them out of value so that on some turns I get something good. And hopefully I just tease them which turns I get something good and which turns they manage to get something good despite spending 7. So at this point, I decide I'm going to put my Sericulture expansion in here and hope that they're thinking that it's a spin doctor, or if they run it, it still costs them a little bit of money to beat the Boto of the Water Tribe and the Tattoo Bowler. So I finally decided to put the Sericulture expansion in there. So now I've got a 3-2 hidden. Now, this is like the perfect time for them to pop their stuff, and they even overclock. But they've got a ton of money, they've got an overclock. I am currently thinking, because overclock is the run event that puts 5 credits on it, that they can spend through it. Is it worth raising these? Am I making them spend more than 5 credits? Tattoo Bowler asks them to spend 1. Boto of the Water Tribe asks them to spend 3. Kind of. Since they're both barriers and Propeller only has 2 things on it, they actually need to also simul-chip out another barrier. So it's less so about the credits I'm forcing them to spend. I'm not really going to force them to spend any credits. I might force them to spend 1 or 2, but like, maybe not, right? I actually don't think I'm forcing them to spend credits, but I am forcing them to finally do this cycle, which is nice. Just forcing them to like go through their Propeller credits or to find a non-Propeller way of breaking things, which is going to cost them more money. All of that is good. So I do decide to raise both of these. I also finally decide to put the Conjun in here. And I put the Conjun in here so that, because Boto is finally going to be rezzed. So now every time they run through this, they're seeing 2 Botos or a Boto plus a side game, right? What they're seeing is a Boto plus a side game. And then if the side game works in my favor, they're seeing another Boto. But this does mean they do get through, which is kind of sad. They also do something a little bit different, which I wasn't expecting. They did the Simul chip into the SMC. The SMC gives them this card called Gauss. Now, I paused this at the great time. Gauss is their non-Propeller barrier breaker. So what it says is on the turn you install it, gain a bunch of strength. But after that, it's like a pretty terrible 2 for 2 and then 1 for 1, which isn't great. That's just like fine. That's like extremely average. But since it starts at 1, it's like pretty good for me because they're gonna have to buff that. Particularly, Boto is even, and if you're thinking about like parity, this is odd. So they're always, you know, for 1 to go into 4, they actually have to spend 4 credits, not 3, because it only goes up in amounts of 2. That's fantastic for me. Except on this turn where they get to go in for free. So like, I'm not forcing them to do anything. I forced them to do the, sorry, I just completely lied to you. I forced them to do the symbol chip thing to like get stuff done and like spend the credits to organize all of this nonsense. But because I think SMC says spend 3 credits to do its action, or maybe Gauss just costed money on its own. Gauss probably just costed money on its own, actually. Nothing else happened. I know, but like they also had money on this. Look, I don't know. I'm being like very slow about this. I'm not being particularly... I'm talking about like macro more than micro, I think. But it does mean that I force them to do a thing. And forcing them to do a thing is often good because it means they can't do things forever. And they can't threaten to do things forever. I'm asking them to do the thing that they're threatening to do. And now I've got the Conjure and the Bodo. It does mean that Bodo plus Conjure is going to be annoying if this is their best way of breaking barriers, and it turns out it will be, which is nice for us. Okay, but they do get the 2-3. Congratulations to the enemy gamer. And then they manage to... What is it? They nuke to get all their cards back. So now I'm looking at them. They have more icebreakers. They have a little bit of money, but not a lot. And they've installed a fermenter. They're going to get money again. I could try and use this as an opportunity to try and score an agenda. But like, if I put this down, they will probably be able to get enough money to be able to continually run through this, considering I've got 3 fucking tattoo bowlers in hand. So like, I can't actually put like more annoying stuff for them to go through. There's not like a lot more stuff I can tax them on, because it's not really a tax. For Gauss, it costs $1 to break through a tattoo bowler. That's not a tax. I'm not taxing them. I'm spending like $3. Sorry, I'm spending $2 just to put a tattoo bowler here, $2 to res it to get $4 back, and they spend $1 to break it. That's like not worth my time nor my clicks, right? So that's kind of saddening to me. But like, even if I wanted to put a Fuji here and just like naturally score it over the course of 2 turns, which is doable, like theoretically in like the realm of ideas, it's not realistic because they still have 2 credits left in this. They're going to get 2 credits in this. They will be able to get enough money, even if they don't know what this ice or this ice is, to reasonably run through it. So I'm kind of annoyed at that like, even though they spent a fair bit of resources just going through, this should be my time to be able to do something, and I still can't. Okay, what do we draw? I don't remember this time. We draw Plutus. So all we need is Kakarembo. If we get Kakarembo and we get to put a Plutus here and they don't kill it, boom, Kakarembo combo. So I decide to draw, and I drew another 3-2. I think I install it. Yeah, okay. So I'm threatening that this is not a Tattoo Bowler. I'm threatening this is like, I don't know, a Saisentan or a Vampire Runasa. Or even another, my third Boto. I mean, they don't know that this Boto is even here, but Boto. If they go through it, it will be important to note that Boto is now at 4 strength. I don't know why I wrote +4. This is like one of the few things that actually isn't true. It's +2 or 6. It's naturally 4. But if they don't run it because, I don't know, they don't want to pop their fermenter this early, they're worried about what ice this is, I'm still threatening $20. It's not like I can't fuck them up yet. I could just score the 2-3, and that would be great. This is a Tattoo Bowler. And they decide to use this turn as a bit of a setup turn. So they first Nuka to draw. They pop their Coalescence. They install an Echelon. So now they have 1 of each of the Icebreakers, which means they can get through anything with pure money. But that means they need to have money, right? And then they decide to run this. Now, this has been giving me $1 every turn for like quite a while. And who knows? There might, like, you know, who knows? There might be a fucking... a piece of... agenda in there. There isn't, but I do get to tax their Vampire Runasa. This will cost them, like the Vampire Runasa costs them, I think I said... It cost them 3. It was going to cost them 5 if they broke every subroutine, but they don't. They let me gain $2, which is fair. They probably shouldn't spend $1 to prevent me from getting $2 with this wealth disparity. And they let me draw 1 to 2 cards, which is very lucky. I needed cards to draw, so I was very appreciative of that. Okay. I decided to draw both cards. We get 2 sort of whatever cards. We get Gaslight and Adrian Stace, and we're in a funny position where they're at 0 clicks. I'm probably just scoring this 3 times. I think that's like the safest thing to do, but it means that I'm discarding cards Anyway, now it's a serial culture expansion, so I was always going to be discarding cards, and it's the end of my turn, so I'm going to be discarding cards. But it was weird to, like, I get the 2 draw, which I wanted because I wanted to get a Kakarembo, but, like, I'm not using those cards. These cards will be discarded, or at least some of them. They get in, they see that all I've got is a Petty Cash and an Anemone, I think. Now it's my turn. I advance, advance, advance. I probably should have Petty Cashed, as I've tried to hint for the last couple of turns. But advance, advance, advance. Now, Sericulture Expansion does have text. The text, I'll remind you, is trash up to trash any number of cards from hand into archives, which means I could have gone below 5, but if I was going to go to 5 cards anyway, then I'm doing that at the end of my turn no matter what. But then after that, I get to put cards and archives into R&D. Now, this means you can put agendas back into R&D, but I wasn't planning to, because if I get my Kakarembo, I get to do the funny thing. So I've got to decide, I want this card, I want this card, I want this card. So out of these last 5 cards, which 3 don't I want? Do I want this agenda? Probably not, because at this point, they're going to be able to get the ferment up, which means they can pretty reliably run this. But maybe I should have. Maybe I should have accepted that. Adrian is a card I kind of wanted, because if I put it with my Plutus here, there's a chance that it sort of acts as like a semi-anoetic, where they're not able to access the Plutus for one of the runs, which is kind of nice. Like, it's an anoetic that doesn't cost me cards in hand. Do I want Gaslight? Because Gaslight would get me my Kakarembo, but it costs like 2 turns to get to it, and it's like kind of awkward. Do I want my Tatubolas for money? I think what I wish I had done is get rid of Tatubola, and this agenda, so that my hand was agenda, Adrian, Gaslight, Plutus. That way, next turn, I can put the Gaslight here and the Adrian here. Make them have to do some awkward things. Get the Gaslight to get me the Kakarembo. Then I put the Plutus back in here. Turn after, I get to do the funny combo, provided they don't run this server. My worry at the time was like, I'm going to be rezzing a Tatubola and not replacing it with a Tatubola. What is wrong with me? So this can't be a Tatubola. There's no way this is Tatubola. I've already misplaced an ice, and I'm very sorry for that. This is a Saisentan. That's right. This is a Saisentan. I should have done that. I think that was the better play. I think I decide that, like, as I said, that I did the Tatubolas incorrectly. That I want Tatubolas in hand when I shouldn't have. And I think I discard like 2 cards I wish I didn't. Yeah. So I keep the Tatubola here. And I keep this agenda, thinking that, well, I need to replace my Tatubola with something for the money. Otherwise, what's the point of the Tatubolas that were already installed? But I should just give up on the Tatubolas. Let me also fix this. Saisentan, Tatubola, sorry, Honjin, Tatubola. And both of these cards were really good. Like, I really wish I had them. We do get to shuffle things in. I think at this point I shuffle in a Hansai review for some money, because I'm now starting to lose bucks, and I will need money. I will need more money by the time the game ends, so I may as well try and get more shuffled in. I think I take a Cohort because I want to draw cards, and I think I put in a Plutus because I'm expecting that the goal is that this server is really annoying to run into. I put a ton of Plutuses in here. They can only run once every 2 turns or so because of how much it's going to cost, and then eventually I get to res a Plutus and do the Kakarembo combo thing. So I put back the Plutus in. That's my thinking. With that thinking in mind, you would have assumed, to be consistent, I should have kept the Adrian and the Gaslight. So that's like a misplay for me. I think I should have kept the Adrian and the Gaslight. I think, I don't know, I'm still kind of new. What do? They do a Stone Ship. They pop their Fermenter. They play Sure Gamble. They play Coalescence. And they play Revolver. And they also gain a credit. They play Revolver by discarding to full. We drew a card, and we drew a 2-3. Congrats to us. I think I install... I decide to draw, see if I can add a new piece of ice, and I do. I get Vampire on Asa. I'm able to add a new piece of ice when they interact with Tatubola. No, I just lied to you. I already had this 2-3. I just drew Vampire on Asa. Apologies. What am I thinking here? I think I'm thinking, should I install Plutus and hope that I draw Kakarembo soon? We've gone through quite a few cards and we haven't seen a Kakarembo yet. But that's a bit silly. I decide to draw a card, see what I get. I get another agenda. I decide to install Plutus, thinking I'm going to ask them to run this and fail. I've got 2 more Plutuses left in the deck, so I'm probably going to draw another one somewhat soon. Like Kakarembo and Plutus, I'll probably draw within the next 10 cards. So I put the Plutus in here, just asking them, hey, run this. Let's tax you. Specifically, let's unlock our Conjun and let's put Vampire Runasa here in this slot specifically without having to spend the extra bucks of installing one here for $3. That was my thinking. Was that right? I don't know. I didn't want to put an Agenta here because I knew they were going to run this. There's no reason for them not to run this. Hold on. There's an issue though. I spent 1 click drawing. I spent 1 click installing. What do I do with my last click? And this is where I think the biggest misplay occurs. I decide, well, I'm not going to draw because I'm going to have too many cards in hand, and Archives is free. They can run Archives realistically. So I don't want to put my agendas in Archives. But I don't want them to know I've got agendas in hand, even though I probably have some agendas in hand, but I don't want them to think I have only agendas in hand. But I don't know how to hide that. I was thinking of putting Vampire Runasa here for my final click so that they don't have an idea of what's in hand, but I decided to click for credit. I think clicking for credit is like a big misplay. I think while it seems fine because I don't want to put Vampire Runasa here, I actually want to put it here. I'm only putting it here so that I don't have to click for credit. I think that like clicking for credit told them I don't have assets I'm comfortable playing, I don't have operations I'm comfortable playing, I don't have ice I'm comfortable playing, therefore I've got agendas. And I think clicking for credit told them I have agendas. And I think I shouldn't have done that. So I keep looking towards my own OBS because this is the first time I've had 2 monitors like while recording a VOD review. And it's very distracting to see myself moving on the monitor, but it's good to know that it's all working. Okay, so that kept in mind, I clicked for a credit. I think this was a misplay because it told them to run into HQ. And I do put a 1-3 in here. I already have the 1-3 that I need, so I don't need like another 1-3. I think a 1-3 is okay in here, I think. If that's the case, I probably should have drawn a card and discarded the 1-3 plus a tattoo. Like seriously, I keep having this tattoo because I'm like, tattoo's an infinite value source. You've got to keep it in hand. I should be discarding this tattoo bowler. That's one thing I'm definitely learning about how I'm playing. I don't need this tattoo bowler that I keep holding onto. So they run HQ, and you know, it doesn't matter what I pick here because they can break it fully with their thing. Now, they hit a Vampire Runasa. Like, that is very lucky for me. I won't deny how lucky it is that they didn't get the agenda here. They overclock to get through Vampire Runasa really quickly, and they do get this agenda. Very, very, I mean, that's what you'd expect. Doing this, you can tell what they're doing. They're deep diving. I raise my Boto to force them to do stuff, particularly because this makes them cost a lot of money. They use their Hannah to get their second click, so now they have 2 clicks. So they get to see, in my 12 cards left, they get to see, sorry, not 12 cards. In my 20 cards left, they get to see 8 cards. If you look down here, they see a Fuji, but nothing else. They go to 6 agenda points. I am very, very, very lucky because they should have seen other agendas because they aren't that many to see. Now, to be fair, there are 9 agendas in the deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's only 3 left in the deck out of 20. That's about, you know, there's like around 1 in 8/9. You know what? It's average. I think it's reasonable for them to expect more. If they saw that, they may have actually been supposed to intuit that they should run HQ a lot more. Because I've got 3 of them in HQ, right? Obviously, if I had 4 in there, they should have expected to see more, or 5 or 6. Although they could also assume that this is an agenda. So maybe like there's only 2. If they're thinking there's only 3 in the deck, that means they think 2's in here and 1's here, or 3's in my hand. That would be the assumption. If you're making the guess that from 8 cards seeing 20 means there's only 3 agendas or so in HQ. But they miss. They find this very funny. This is fantastic for me, right? It's not fantastic for me just because they didn't win. It's fantastic for me because they're at $2, no fucking cards, no resources, nothing. This is the perfect time for me to just score. Like, I can just score. They can't beat me if I score. So I conclude that what I'm going to do is I'm going to ignore the Plutus thing, and I'm just going to install a fucking Fuji here. Because what the fuck are they going to do? At least I think that's what I decide. Unless I decide to do the 2-3. By the way, I finally play my fucking petty caches. I played them the last 2 turns. Finally. I just took it. Like, now I know that I need the money as well, because I'm starting to get low in credits because I rest the Bodo. But yes. Do I put the 2-3 in or the Fuji? I put the Fuji in. I genuinely think this is the greatest decision I could have made. I think they have a 0% chance of running through this. Fuji does 2 damage to them, which like isn't nothing, but it is something. Puts me at 5 agenda points, which means I can score a 2-3 and win at any time, which is really, really nice. Obviously, if I put a 2-3 here, then I said a 2-3, a 3-2. I could put a Fuji here. Like I could do it the other way around and still win at any time, but winning at any time is slightly different. Because I don't have to like show that I'm advancing something. But I can put 2 advancement counters on this and they can't win. Like they just can't do it. Or they think they can, but they don't know what this ice is, which is interesting. I wasn't thinking about that at the time. I was thinking they're just not going to run it. But if they did run it, it is funny. But it wasn't even occurring to me that they could run it. They see me advance twice. They know this is a Fuji. There's nothing hidden there. I see them click for credit, simul chip, and I'm like, okay, what the fuck are they gonna do? They're gonna simul chip out of Coalescence? If they simul chip out of Coalescence, they have a total of $5. Boto itself costs them, I think, $4 to break. No, it costs them like $7 to break, right? I'm thinking this right. If I'm thinking this right, oh no, right. They don't have to spend the cost. They have $7, I think. It took me a long time to work out this math when we were playing, but my understanding is they've got $3 here. The best thing this can do is get them a Coalescence, which gives them plus $4. That's $7. This itself, for breaking a Boto, costs, well, it costs 6 to raise strength, doesn't it? Yeah, I don't know why they would ever run this, actually. Propeller. Sorry, the other option is getting their propeller back. If they get their propeller back, it only costs 3 to break, but it costs all the power counters, right? So the idea isn't that they would use this. They would get their propeller plus $3 in order to break this, and then these just are ice they can get through for free, I think would be the idea. But honestly, I think this is a misplay, or I'm not understanding something, because I don't see if they are ever genuinely thinking they're getting through this. Maybe they think is that I'm on 7 credits. So maybe I just can't res this and still have 3 credits. Like these need to be 4 credits or less. Luckily, Tachibola it actually gains me credits and Conjun costs 3. It's like I'm always doing fine. But that's probably the idea. You know what? Maybe this isn't as big of a misplay. If this is a Vampire Runasa or a Saisentan, which I'm on, right? They know that I'm on Saisentan. They know I'm on Vampire Runasa. I can't res it. I can't res it and then also score the Fuji. So they aggress it, I res it, and then I can't score, and then they get money back next turn, and then they beat me, right? That would be the idea, I think. But lo and behold, I've got the Tachibola, so we do the Tachibola cycle, and that's very fine. And then when they get the Conjun, now look, there's a lot of logic you can do here about Conjun. Like if I choose the 2, that means, and they choose the 2, then they don't have to fight anything, and they get to go through. Short answer is, I think no matter what I pick, I think they can't get through. I'm pretty sure. I know that there was so much thinking here, and like because this is a game where I know my opponent, like I've met this guy and I've like interacted with them in person. I have like this worry that like if I spend 5 minutes thinking about this turn, that I'm like wasting their time. But in my mind, I think I didn't bother working out every single line because it's kind of complicated, right? What they choose off Simul Chip, whether it's Propeller or whether it's Coalescence, it shouldn't matter. Because I can also choose, remember, I can also choose which ice they interact with. I was thinking Boto, but you can also choose Saisentan for damage. You can also choose Vampire Runasa because it costs a ton of money with their Unity, right? For the Unity to break it, it costs 3 to increase the strength and then X for how many subroutines. Now, they don't need to break anything from Unity, but they do probably want to not take 2 damage. They need to at least break 2 damage, which means it's 4, right? Then they still have Boto to interact with. The question is then, like, how much do I want to bet to force them? Because they're probably going to want to bet 0, right? And if they bet 0 and I bet 0, they go through. So I could bet 1. But then it's obviously, like, this is the whole point of the Psy game. If they think I'm going to bet 1, then they bet 1 and they go through when I should have bet 0. I notice all of this, and the first thing I try and work at is, if I bet 2, do I always prevent them? And the answer is yes, because it's just the money it costs. So what I decide to do is just bet 2, even though that's probably the wrong play. The right play is probably genuinely to bet 0 or 1, but I know they're never betting 2. They cannot justify betting 2, like, ever. So that's why I chose 2. But it's probably better to choose 0 or 1, because even if we align, they still have to interact with Bodo of the Water Tribe, And it's very hard to do so now that they spent their 1 click on the tattoo bowler, or their 1 credit. Because even if they go for coalescence, I'm pretty sure they can't get through because this costs too much. And if they go for a propeller, it's still not enough because they don't have enough money, right? Or if they go for a coalescent, they don't have enough. So I'm pretty sure no matter what I chose, they weren't getting through Boto. Like, just seeing Conjun sort of... I mean, I don't know if Conjun even mattered. Like, once they saw Tattoo Bowler plus Boto, I think they're done. I think. But this might be where I'm wrong. Like, you might think that I'm able to do the math. I genuinely... I'm pretty sure they can't get through Boto at this point. That Tattoo Bowler was already enough, which means maybe they just should have stopped after they saw this. But, I mean, seeing me res Conjun gives them information that is useful for later. Nonetheless, I rolled the 2. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I should roll the 0 because I think they can't get through Boto. But this is the other thing. If you're new to a game, it's sometimes worth taking, like... It's like picking the 2 credits here, even though you're like 90% sure that 0 credits is still just as good, because you might be missing something about how this card works. Now, I don't think I was, but like, I don't know. Maybe they do this into SMC into like a Chesve, and somehow Chesve... Oh, I don't know. I don't know what I'd be playing around, basically, because I don't know all the cards in the game. So I picked the 2. I'm sure someone can convince me that 0 is just as good, because Boto still prevents them. Sorry, I've yapped about this. There is one more thing. They can't like jack out. So whatever Conjun lets them see, I could just win, right? So if Conjun aligns and I hit Boto, I think that just kills them. And that explains what they were talking about a little bit more. It took me a while to realize that, actually. I've just put that together now. The issue with Conjun right now is less so that, you know, this Boto will kill them, but they can't jack out from this Conjun. So if I spend 2, and they don't spend 2, I can just put them into a Boto, and since we know they can't beat a Boto, I win because Boto does 2 damage, I think. Or the argument might go, possibly, let's think about this. Simulchip can put them to get a propeller, but they still don't have the 3rd credit. Okay, I've yapped a lot. I think I'm going to make a final decision on what happened here. After the Tattoo Bowler, they probably should have jacked out because they can't beat Boto. As far as I can tell, getting Coalescence or getting Propeller, either way won't let them get Boto. The Coalescence line would get them to 6 credits, but I think it costs 7 to fully break a Boto. I think. It might cost 9 credits? Maybe I'm not understanding Gauss properly. So I think they can't get through the Boto. So I don't know why they continued the run. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe they can get through the Boto. If they can get through the Boto, let's say they've got a plan on how to get through Boto, then the logic for Conjun is twofold. One logic is, can we force them to spend enough credits to not be able to get through the Boto, which is what I thought I was doing. The other thing is, can I kill them? And I could kill them if Boto doesn't yet kill and we do the side game correctly. I picked 2 because if they go down to 0, they definitely can't beat a side game, which I was thinking purely for the second Boto, but they could always jack out. So it's not really something worth thinking about. But as you can see, eventually, through what happens, it's going to take a while actually because I spent so long thinking about this. I take my 2 credits. However, Fun says they flatline anyway. I kind of don't get why yet, but I just accept it. I spent a long time thinking about still Boto or Saisentan. Like, I've never played with this Conjun card. I don't even really know what I'm doing with it, let alone the fact that I'm supposed to be able to flatline Haverfun, and I couldn't really work out why yet. Whether it was through Boto or Thingo because of this Simulchip. But, you know, they go in, they get their Coalescence, they get the credits. They can't increase the strength enough for the Boto, and then I win. Which means that, like, I think it's just that Gauss is just really bad against Boto. I think that's just, like, the fundamental thing about it. And then I win. Congratulations. I killed them. I said I wasn't going to kill them. I killed them. To be fair, they lost on the deep dive, but that's because I had a ton of things in HQ, and they probably should have pressured HQ more. I think that's, like, the only difference, where, like, there were no agendas for, like, so much of the game, which means they had to be somewhere, and HQ is a pretty likely place for them to be. Okay, that was an hour on a 26-minute game, but that's just what a VOD review is like. At least they are for me. I'm quite a yappy individual. But I think it was a good game to go through. I think I was satisfied with my ice placement, which was rare for me. I was mostly satisfied with my ice placement. I think I put a Tattoo Bowler here when I shouldn't have based on the cohort, but it ended up punishing me because the cohort was deleted. I think I'm really satisfied with this Vampire Answer on archives. It got them to go through it twice, which felt great because Vampire Answer is like a great card for taxing, even if it's not a great card for preventation. This Birdo of the Water Tribe, and this Conjure felt fantastic. And while I didn't get to do the Kakarambo combo, you know, at a certain point in the game, you're just playing like, you know, you've got your asset or your agenda, and you've got a certain amount of tax. And the question is just like, when are they able to pay the tax? And are they going to pay the tax when there's an agenda there? Or are they going to pay the tax when there's an asset there? If it's an asset there, you're happy. If it's an agenda, you're sad. And I think I played that part of the game sufficiently. But obviously, you know, you can look at this game a couple of ways. I played amazingly out of my mind, and I'm just like the greatest player ever. Or have a fun, miss a deep dive. And that's just what happened. And I think both are reasonable ways to look at the game. I have a preference, but that's absent the point. Cool, that was that game. I hope this was interesting, if not too bad. And I will do this probably in 2 weeks. Goodbye.